Spirit. Does it stay? Does it go?
The fact is, spirit does survive death. Our loved ones are all around us. Love survives. Spirit survives. All is not lost.
Welcome to the All Is Not Lost podcast. Here's your host, psychic and evidential medium, Rianne Maldonado.
Welcome back to another episode of All Is Not Lost. Right away, I'm sure you'll be able to tell that I have laryngitis. And that's partially why I missed last week. I can't seem to shake it. I had a cold last month and then I went to a concert. And so I thought it would be temporary laryngitis, but now I'm wondering if it's the weather. I don't know. So anyway, please excuse my voice. And for those of you who have been so sweet to say they absolutely love listening because of the sound of my voice, well, I apologize. Moving right along, I wanted to jump back in and fill you in on what happened at the end of March because it was I had a really great experience in my mind in a lot of ways. And to turn it into a spiritual thing is even cooler to me that I could find a message for you in there because I had to find the message for me in there. So many, many, many months ago, it was after August, I suppose, August of 2022, when I went with my son to see the Killers concert in Phoenix. I was absolutely floored by how amazing their concert was. This show that they put on is just fantastic. Well, I have two daughters who have birthdays within just a few weeks of each other. And they're getting older to the age where they could probably really enjoy a concert. And I know they love music. So I had this crazy thought of combining their birthday presents and not really buying them presents, but instead taking them to see the Killers because it's also one of their favorite bands. Well, when I was researching the tour was actually going to be over at the end of 2022. And there weren't any tickets to be had in places that I could go or in time frames that I could take them. But then there was one that was tacked on to the very end. They put it in March, and it was really the rescheduling from September. And it was in St. Louis, Missouri. And I thought, well, what the hey? I've never been to St. Louis. I hear it's haunted and there's like cool stuff to do, but I had never been there. But really the point was to go to the concert. I almost didn't care about whatever else we did. So we surprised the girls and told them that this was going to be their birthday present. They were really excited. And so we knew we weren't going to go till March obviously. So we knew we weren't going to go to March. There were many, many months of planning and preparation and being excited and all of that. But March rolled around and it was time to go. And there's three things I want to talk about the trip. One, the food we ate because there are no words. Two, the concert because it's just my favorite band and I somehow managed to find a way to squeeze the Killers into almost every episode. And three, the spiritual message for you all about self-care. Okay, so let me start with the barbecue. Our first day there, we arrived early. We got to our Airbnb, got our stuff settled, and we were starving. And, airport food, snacks, and this and that just aren't going to cut it. I knew that I wanted to try some St. Louis barbecue. So, we read 1 billion reviews. We talked to the Uber drivers. We figured it out, and we finally landed on a place, which I sadly found out is kind of a chain, but so what? It was phenomenal food. And if you know real barbecue and you want to email or comment and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, that's totally fine. I'm open to it. But for what I've ever had as barbecue, we ended up at Sugar Fire in downtown St. Louis. And I really, like, my mouth is watering. I don't think there are words for how good this food was. I don't know if I was just really hungry from the trip or the food was good or both. But I will tell you, I've never had burnt ends like those burnt ends. I mean, we went back one more time before we left the trip because it was so good. The pulled pork was amazing. The turkey like literally melted on my tongue. I don't know. It was the best meat I've ever had in my life. So if you've never had St. Louis barbecue, I'm sure there are little mom and pop type restaurants that maybe even could beat it. I don't know. But for a chain that I didn't really know was a chain, that was probably the best food I've ever had. And I would go back just for that. So do with that what you will. Another restaurant we tried that was amazing to me, there is an Italian culture, a little portion, an Italian neighborhood that's really, really prevalent in St. Louis. And I did not know this. It's called The Hill. And it's so beautifully decorated. You can tell each of the community members has pride in their culture. They have little Italian flags out, there's statues. It's really a beautiful place to go. Unfortunately, we went at the wrong time of day when most of the nice restaurants we were reading about with reviews open in the evening. We were there kind of early afternoon. So our choices were limited. However, I think it worked in our benefit. We ended up going into a little, very tiny family-owned place called Adriana's. And let me tell you, if you look up Adriana's in St. Louis on the Hill, you will see my review because I could not write enough good things about this Italian food. So if you didn't already know this about me, obviously I like to eat. I live for food. So Adriana's, the woman working the counter, Diana, could not have been more sweet. I little side note, most people in St. Louis were not nice. Most people were very kept to themselves, one word answers. We didn't get any smiles, never felt welcome. I don't care. It ended up being fine. But that's what made Diana stand out. She kind of pulled us under her wing and told us all the different things we should try since this was our first time there and having real Italian food. And this restaurant is named after her mother, Adriana. And Adriana ran the restaurant for, her whole time there, but now has recently stepped away a little bit. And Diana's at the counter and her sister's behind the stove cooking this amazing food. So we had meatball sandwiches, which I thought honestly that we were going to have a lot of food to bring back to the Airbnb. And I'm I'm embarrassed, but not really embarrassed to admit we brought nothing back to the Airbnb because we ate every single bite of food on the table. So I got a giant meatball sandwich and it was so good. I shared some with my daughters, but I ate most of it. My husband got this, I can't even say it. I don't even know how to say it, but this sausage sandwich with olive oil and cheese. And it was just, oh my God, I'll look it up and I'll put it in the notes, but it was so good. He ended up cutting off a piece and sharing it with me because he's super generous like that. Me being an only child, I don't share. I have to consciously want to share with somebody, but not my husband. He's very generous. So he cut off a piece of his sandwich for me. I gave him a little bit of mine, but only because he gave me some of his. I also tried the minestrone soup, out of this world. My daughter had pasta with red sauce and meatballs. And like I said, again, we ate everything on the table. So if you are ever in St. Louis and you're not into barbecue or you love Italian food, please go to Adriana's. I was so impressed. I actually told her, I said, I'm going to go home and I'm going to talk about your restaurant on my show because this is the best food. So that's just a little bit about what we ate. The other part I obviously can't go and leave out is the concert. So here's the interesting thing I'm learning about the Killers. They have this loyal, diehard, been around for 25 year audience. I'm sorry, I'm losing my words right here. Followers, fans. Yes. That they know every single song. They know every lyric to every song. They have every t-shirt from the concerts. I mean, they have this fan base that's just so insane. And I know that I have been listening to them for 25 years because my son is 25 years old and he remembers growing up listening to the Killers. So, but then the other weird thing is if you talk to some people and you're like, oh, I'm going to a Killers concert, they're like, who's that? So I ran into both ends of it. Either they totally are fans or they have no idea who the Killers are. So that was weird. But understandable, I suppose, with a lot of music out there. The Killers to me just have this class, this integrity, something about them, the way that they put on the show, the way Brandon Flowers, his lyrics, the songs he writes, they really just speak to, I think, normal everyday people. And the music is beautiful and engaging. And there's nothing in there that I wouldn't want my children to hear, that kind of thing. So again, this was another phenomenal show. I mean, phenomenal. And side note, if you follow me on social media at all, you will know that I have a terrible crush on the drummer, Ronnie Vannucci Jr. So you will find that out very quickly. So watching Brandon Flowers sing and put on his performance is mind-blowing. But then when the camera goes on to Ronnie Vannucci and is, zooming in on him, just going to town on those drums, you can feel his passion, but the skill, oh my gosh, I'm just like mind blown by the skill. Anyway, okay, so obviously we had a fantastic time at the concert. It was my daughter's very first time at a concert, so that was adorable to watch. One of them didn't really want to like move much, like no dancing or really engaging. The other one, I could hear her singing like over my shoulder, but she was like kind of still stiff. It was adorable. And then there's their crazy mother, who's, a total fan and really engaged in the moment. So there's that. So the other part to kind of make this episode fit into what All Is Not Lost is about, let me just, little diversion here. We had a ghost tour planned, but it was raining, so we weren't able to go on that. I will say the Airbnb we stayed at is beautiful inside, and it was good, and I gave them a good rating, but we were a little scared. I'm not scared of ghosts, not at all. I actually kept asking the ghosts if there were any to keep us safe from the neighborhood. I don't know that we chose the best neighborhood, but apparently we were in the better neighborhood. So either way, we were safe and it was fine. But here's the crux to get a little serious. So as you know, I have a huge family. I have 5 children and I'm an only child again. So I think 5 children, 7 people in a house is overwhelming for a lot of people. But for somebody who grew up in a home where it was silent a lot, not in a bad way, just, there's not a lot of talking when there's only 3 people. My house gets quite overwhelming for me at times. And I manage fine, but also the busyness of 7 people's schedule, there's not a lot of time for self-care. And I think self-care can be like kind of a silly word. We can roll our eyes and be like, oh, self-care. I know, like all that stuff. And I've been guilty of kind of doing that too. Like, whatever, I don't have time for self-care, or my version of self-care might be weird. I don't know. So let's talk about self-care. For some people, that might mean getting a massage. That might mean going for a run. That might mean a quiet glass of wine with a book, or reading the newspaper quietly in the morning with a cup of coffee. Whatever your version of self-care is fabulous. And I'm not here to talk about whether it's right or wrong. I think everybody's has to be individual to what feeds their soul. And I'll illustrate that by talking about my personal experience on this trip. So I've been raising kids full time up until, like last year-ish, when, everybody's kind of in school and situated, but basically 100% stay-at-home mom raising kids for about 15 years. And the thought of self-care, there just wasn't on my radar. I mean, the thought was there, but the action wasn't. And something as simple as this, which other people might criticize. Okay, so somebody who sits in front of the TV all day or all night and just watches TV and eats snacks. would probably be talked about in a poor light. In, what I would think I would hear people say is, oh, couch potato, or, oh, they have no motivation, or they're being lazy. They should be out doing such and such. Well, I don't know about other stay-at-home moms of 5 children, but for me, never in 15 years did I have a weekend, a day, couple days ever of lying on the couch watching TV uninterrupted. Like I didn't even know what that was like. It just never happened. Somebody always needed something. Something always had to be done. There was always chores to be done. There's meals to be prepared or cleaned up. There's people who need things when you're raising kids. So the luxury, I guess, of being a person who had never just sat on the couch and watched TV hadn't come to me. I wasn't that person. Well, let me tell you this. On my trip to St. Louis to see the Killers and indulge in some delicious food, I practiced self-care. We were not comfortable in the neighborhood we were in. We didn't have a car. We didn't want to it was raining, so there wasn't a lot to do. It was dreary. And it was the middle of the week. So our choices were limited. So we unfolded the couch bed, which is where my husband and I ended up sleeping. We gave the kids the bed. It was a weird layout of the house, and that just felt safer and more comfortable. And then we readjusted all the pillows, and there was a nice big TV above the fireplace. And it was so crazy. My daughter found a show that isn't like super brand new. Other people have probably already watched all the seasons, but we hadn't seen it again because I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't have time. And it was a show we could all 4 agree on. And so there we were lined up like birds on a telephone wire or electric wire, whatever I'm trying to talk about outside. And we're all snuggled in under the blankets, and we binge watched this show for 3 days. We only left to eat, and we only left to go to the concert. And when we were home, we had our snacks and we had our coffee, and we sat in this couch bed and we binge watched TV. Again, I can bet money that so many people out there are going to be like, that's not self-care, or that's lazy, or how could you go to another state and not explore, and blah, blah, blah. I get it. I totally get it. I was almost embarrassed to even talk about it. But then I realized, no, there's got to be somebody else out there like me who has never done this. And I saw it as a positive because my girls are old enough, these 2 that came with us. They're self-sufficient. One's 14, one's 11. I didn't have to do anything for them. In fact, they could help me. I would ask them, can you take the trash out? Would you grab me another cup of coffee? Like whatever. And then we all snuggled back in the couch bed, and we just watched TV. No one had to talk. No one had to do chores. I didn't have to even get out of my pajamas unless we were going to go eat. It was beautiful. I suffer from migraines. If you guys know me, those of you that know me, know that I get headaches weekly, and nothing seems to help. I've, already been through the neurologist. I've already had different medications, all of that. So I just try to handle them because I think they're tension and stress related migraines. I did not get a migraine on this trip. And that says a lot to me. I relaxed. My shoulders weren't tense. I didn't have anxiety or any panic attacks. I simply was able to be. And what better example of self-care and the results self-care can bring than that for me in that situation. Now, am I going to become a habitual couch potato watching TV? No, that's not the point at all. The point is I utilized this trip and this situation to accomplish something unknowingly at the time that I desperately needed. I desperately, desperately needed to check out, to safely be removed from my normal environment, my chores, my responsibilities as a mama, mostly, business, all of it. I needed an excuse to not work. And I needed permission to sit my butt on the couch and drink coffee and watch TV. And it was beautiful. And those are I'm getting emotional, and you can think I'm crazy. That's okay. I mean, I really don't care. I'm getting emotional because I needed that trip more than I realized. And it brought me healing. The good, soul nurturing food prepared in a way that felt like it was prepared with meaning, purpose, love, nurtured my soul in some areas. And then the music, the concert, not just the music and what it did for me, what it does for me anytime I listen to my favorite songs, but also bonding with my daughters, taking them to their very first concert, sharing this with them. That was beautiful. And then taking time for my body, my soul, my spirit, every bit of me to just relax with no destination. Think about this. Even if I book a massage, I have a massage therapist I love dearly. And when I can afford it, I have her come over and it's fabulous. But I know at the end of that, I have to get off that table and go pick up my kids from school, and make dinner. There's an end. But that trip and that time, just relaxing and just being in the presence of my family, being in the presence of myself, was beautiful and necessary. And I came home thankful and grateful. And so what I want to express to you is, don't let somebody tell you what self-care looks like for you. You decide. You decide. I almost don't even want to list a bunch of examples because I really want it to come from you. What does your soul tell you it needs? How can you give that to your soul? And don't listen to anybody else about what they might think is appropriate, inappropriate. I mean, obviously safety and, not harming others, of course. But I mean, if you have always been told sitting on the couch watching TV makes you a lazy bum, so you don't think that that'll give you self-care because you're going to hear little voices in your head like I did at first. Well, so what? But go inside for a minute and listen to what it is you need, and maybe find a way to give yourself just a little bit of it. I'm not saying you can take a trip to another state. I was fortunate. I had the opportunity to do this. It's not lost on me that it's an opportunity that not everybody has. I get it. But even a little something, just find something to say, I took care of myself today and I feel better. Gosh, this laryngitis is driving me nuts. But anyway, okay, seriousness aside, let's get back to one more cool thing before I let you go. So this is funny. And I think there's me, there's obviously a psychic component to some of this. When I was watching the concert, my poor husband, I think he knows it's just a celebrity crush. I'm sure he has his own. But anyway, when I'm watching the concert and the camera would zoom in on the drummer, Ronnie, I would look at him and I would think in my brain, wow, if I could meet anybody in the world, there is another person I really want to meet, but I'm not going to talk about it on the air because I don't want to get into any political fights. But there's two people on the planet I would want to meet, and Ronnie's one of them. And I was just thinking in my brain, putting that out there. Wow, I'd love to meet this guy. That'd be so cool to meet this guy. If I could meet this guy, what would we talk about? What would I ask him? What would I want to know about his life? And on and on and on. So the next day we're leaving. We're at the airport, get up early and get to the airport. And we had some lunch, which was the crappiest airport food, but whatever, you expect that. Then we go and we put our bags down at our gate, and the girls want to get Starbucks. And one of the girls left her hat at the restaurant. So I leave my husband to hold down the fort. He's got some phone calls to make. So he's watching our bags at the gate. I walk the girls back to the restaurant and we retrieve my daughter's hat. And right across from there is a Starbucks. And I traveled a lot last year. I was so fortunate to get to take some trips. And I'll tell you, airport Starbucks sucks. There is not one, not Atlanta, not Dallas, not anywhere I have been, definitely not St. Louis, where the airport Starbucks does not taste like utter crap. It's just not worth the money, my opinion. But the girls wanted Starbucks. And I was like, I got to wash that crappy lunch down with something, and maybe something at Starbucks won't be all that bad. God was looking out for me. Let me just tell you that. I go into the Starbucks, and the completely unhelpful, unsmiling, rude lady at the counter, whatever, took our order. And sorry, I'm stumbling over my words because I'm excited and I just want to set this up right for you. So anyway, we place our order. We're waiting for our order off to the side. And I'm standing there with the girls, and I look to my left over at where people order coffee. And I said to the girls really quietly, I'm like, that guy right there, he looks like the drummer. And I remember saying, but he's tall. I don't think the drummer's that tall. I'm like, but I really think that guy looks like the drummer. That's crazy. And now the guy's looking at me, because if you know anything about like ESP, parapsychology, anything like that, there is science behind, when someone's staring at you. I had to do an experiment on that for school. So he probably felt me staring at him. Well, he's staring back at me, and I'm like trying to be discreet. And I'm like, girls, I think that's the drummer. Well, then my 11-year-old, she sees the backpack of one of the other guys. There's 3 guys in this group. And she goes, Mom, his backpack has a little patch on it that says the Killers. And I'm like, shut up. I said, if that middle guy turns around and that is Brandon Flowers, I'm going to drop dead right here in this Starbucks. So, oh my gosh, let me back up. Before we walked in, my 14-year-old said, Mom, is it common to run into famous people in the airport? And I'm like, yeah, I never do, but I hear stories all the time that, people run into famous people in the airports all the time. So remember that conversation when I'm talking about the psychic stuff. So me at the concert, wishing I could meet the drummer. And then my daughter saying, hey Mom, do you ever run into famous people in the airport? And then there's more to that. So as she sees the backpack, and I say, if that middle guy turns around and that's Brandon Flowers, I'm going to drop dead in this Starbucks. Well, guess what? He turns around and it's freaking Brandon Flowers, the lead of the Killers. And my mouth dropped open. And so again, I always say this, if any of you know me, I try to be discreet. I try to be different. I don't fawn over celebrities. As you know, I told Shane Pittman when I was interviewing him last month, I really try not to be that person. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just I feel embarrassed to be that crazy fan. So I don't do it. So I like whisper across the Starbucks. I wave at Brandon and I'm like, great show. And so he's like, thank you. And he got closer. And so I said, oh, these are my daughters, and we flew from Tucson to see you guys for their birthday, and they really enjoyed your show. Great job. And I said, I saw you in Phoenix in August, and it was just amazing again. Thank you so much. And I'm talking so quietly because I don't want to embarrass them or make them uncomfortable or be rude for that matter. But then I looked at him because he was actually being nice, and he said something nice about Tucson. And I said, okay, I don't want to be tacky, but could I please have a picture? And he's like, yeah, sure. So he gets behind me and I'm trying to hold the phone. Well, this is so sweet and sad at the same time. My 14-year-old is really short. So I'm super tall. My 11-year-old's super tall. Brandon is tall, but my 14-year-old's really short. And so the way I'm holding the camera, if you go onto my social media, you'll see the picture. I hear her in my ear. She's like, Mom, I'm barely in the picture. Well, I'm panicking because I've got this celebrity next to me and I don't want to take up his time. And he's crouching, to be in my picture. And I'm basically like, figure it out. And I take our picture. Her little eyes are in there. She's definitely in the picture. Thank God. So I get that with Brandon. And then I'm shaking. Like I can barely hold my phone. I'm shocked I actually took the picture. And then I asked Brandon, I said, do you think Ronnie would let us have a picture with him? And he's like, nah, he's pretty crotchety in his old age. And I was thinking, I'm not missing a picture with Ronnie. So Brandon, I thank him and he turns around and he's like digging in his bag and I hear him talking to the guitar player. Well, I make eye contact with Ronnie And I turn around and I kind of get a little closer and I'm like asking with my eyes. And finally I'm like, could I have a picture with you? And he said, sure. So there I am with my hero. And remember last night, at the night before at the concert, I'm like, all I want to do is meet this guy. Here I am, not only meeting him, I'm going to get a picture with him. So he stands behind me. We get the picture. And I'm shaking. And then he was so sweet because he looked at my girls and gestured to my girls and said, what, they don't talk? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Yes, we're here for their birthday. I'm just really, really nervous. And could they have a picture with you too? And he said, happy birthday to the girls. And they got a picture. So moral of the story, it was an awesome trip. I got self-care, ate great food, and saw an awesome concert. And to top it all off, I met the band members of my very favorite band on earth. And I got pictures with them. And no one can ever take that away from me. So, and I promised you there'd be one more psychic element. We get back to our gate where my husband's waiting with our luggage. And of course, I feel like the complete jerk that I just met the band and I'm over the moon and the girls are over the moon. They're calling everybody that they know. And my husband didn't get to be a part of it. But he said, Rianne, I should have told you sooner, because this is the thing about psychic impressions. If you get them, you have to write them down or you have to tell somebody. I have told you guys that before. You have to do it because not only is it good for you, it invites more and it gives you credibility. So I just got to say, he said, Rianne, I should have freaking told you. I knew we were going to meet them in the airport. I knew we were going to run into them in the airport and I should have said something. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So between me wishing it, Ruby asking about meeting famous people in airports, and my husband knowing, just having a knowing, there it was right there. So my trip was fantastic and I'm so glad I got to go. I'm so grateful. And I'm just so grateful for all the elements. So I missed you guys last week and I've been told that it's podcast suicide to miss a production date, but with my laryngitis, there was no way I could talk to you guys. This is me doing much better. But with that being said, I have to let you know that things in my life are shifting and there's some other avenues I'm exploring and things I have to do. Summer's coming, kids are home, but professionally, there are some things I'm taking on that are going to make me less available for my show. I've been committing weekly to you guys since October, November, and I've loved it every minute. I'm probably going to be coming to you a little bit less. I don't know if it'll be every 2 weeks or once a month, because I still want to share what's going on. I still want to be there for you. I want to answer questions. I've got a client turned friend right now who's got a billion questions, and I actually thought what would be so fun is to have her in the studio and kind of do a Q&A. She asked me all the questions that I know a lot of you have, and then I answer them. So we're talking about that. But ultimately, I just want you to know you probably are not going to hear from me weekly. It might be a little more inconsistent. And for the professional podcasters out there who say that's literally suicide for my show, I get it. But I figure the people who need me will find me. And when I have good information and time to share it, it will be beneficial to those who need it. So I'm doing my best over here. I appreciate every single one of you. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your wonderful comments and your encouragement and support, because I couldn't do it without you. When I started this, I really just thought I was going to be talking to myself. And that was okay because I had things to say. And I thought if nobody listens, that's all right. But the feedback I get that people are listening and there's an impact and people enjoy my voice or they enjoy what I have to say has been like, wow, really? I'm so happy about that. So with that, I'm going to let you all go. I'm going to say goodbye today. I don't know when you'll hear from me again, but I couldn't go another day without sharing this with you and touching base with you and saying hello. So as always, you know where I am. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me at allisnotlostpodcast.com or allisnotlostpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to email me, RianneMaldonado.com, you can find me there. You can still book readings with me. I'm just a little bit backed up. So there's a little bit of a wait list, but you can go to bookings and inquiries on either website and you'll find me. And if you want to follow the show so that you don't miss whenever I do have an episode coming out, that would be great. Or share it with a friend. I love to hear that people found me through friends. So that's always fun. So take care. And until next time, keep keeping track of any of those psychic impressions you might get, or signs or messages that you don't know where they came from, because they matter and they might lead to you meeting somebody really cool or doing something really awesome with your life. And I'll see you next time.